We spend most of our lives earning money, shaping the work we do, the homes we live in, and the futures we imagine for ourselves. Money quietly influences what is possible, what is difficult, and what feels out of reach, often without us noticing it at all. And yet, how many of us truly understand what money actually is, where it comes from, how the system behind it works, or whether that system ultimately works in our interest or shapes our outcomes? To understand that, we need to stop thinking about money as a thing we earn or spend, and start looking at it as a system that shapes outcomes. When we think about money, we usually picture things: coins, banknotes, numbers on a screen. But those are not money itself. They are interfaces, ways we access something deeper. Money, at its core, is an abstract system of accounting. It records who is owed what, tracks obligations between people, and allows value created today to be exchanged elsewhere or claimed in the future. And without a shared system of recognition and enforcement, a banknote can't buy anything, and a balance can't settle a debt. The form money takes can change. The system underneath is what actually matters. Money didn't emerge because people wanted convenience. It emerged because real economies face limits: time, scarcity, distance, and information. In small groups, people can rely on memory and trust. You know who contributed, who owes what, and who can be relied on. But as societies grow, those mechanisms stop scaling. Memory fades, trust thins, and coordination becomes harder. Money is the abstraction that makes cooperation possible under those limits. It allows effort today to be exchanged for something later. It allows strangers to cooperate without knowing each other. And it allows societies to function at a scale that trust alone never could. Money doesn't remove the limits societies face. It shapes how those limits are lived with, managed, and felt over time. Sometimes quietly, sometimes gradually, and often in ways that are hard to see while we're living inside them. To understand what money does, we also need to be clear about what it does not do. Money does not create value. Value exists before money ever enters the picture. Value comes from usefulness, from meaning, from human needs and preferences. A home has value because it shelters. Food has value because it sustains. Work has value because it produces something others want or need. Money doesn't create any of that. What it does instead is allow value to be expressed, not perfectly, not directly, but in a form that can be shared and exchanged. That expression is what we call a price. A price is not value itself. It's a translation, a number expressed in currency that makes exchange possible. And what that number tells us depends on how the money system works, what it rewards, what it stretches, and what it quietly changes over time. When we forget this distinction, we start mistaking changes in numbers for changes in reality. If value exists outside money, and money is a system of coordination, then something has to connect the two. That connection is price. A price is the moment value becomes a number, expressed in currency, so exchange can actually happen. When people agree to exchange something, they're not agreeing on value in the abstract. They're agreeing on a price, a number that both sides accept, for now, under the conditions they face. That's why prices can change even when the underlying thing stays exactly the same. The house is the same house. The work is the same work. But the number attached to them can move. Because prices don't just reflect value. They also reflect the environment around the exchange: availability, urgency, expectations, and the rules of the money system itself. A price feels precise, but it isn't permanent, and it isn't the thing itself. Before we continue, if you think this is valuable, please like. It helps share it with others. Subscribe so we stay informed together. At this point, it helps to separate two ideas that are often treated as the same: money and currency. Money is the system. Currency is the form that system takes. The euro, the dollar, or the yen are not money itself. They are currencies, specific units used inside a monetary system. Currencies can change. Paper can become digital. Numbers can move from notes to ledgers. But the system underneath, the rules of recognition, accounting, and settlement, can continue even as the form changes. That's why debates about money often become confused. People argue about the form, while the system quietly stays in place. In small groups, money doesn't need much structure. People know each other. They remember who contributed. Trust does most of the work. But as societies grow, that changes. Trust thins, memory stops scaling, and cooperation increasingly depends on shared rules. This is where authority enters the picture. Not to create value, but to make the money system usable at scale. Authority defines what counts as payment, what settles an obligation, and what happens when those rules are broken. This doesn't mean money is only about force, but it does mean money is never just a neutral tool. Once money operates at the scale of entire societies, the system itself starts shaping outcomes, quietly, continuously, and often without being noticed. It shapes how societies organize, how opportunities emerge, and how individual lives unfold within those structures. And that is why understanding what money is matters long before we argue about what it does. By the time the effects are visible, the system is already doing its work. But this system didn't appear fully formed. It was built, adapted, constrained, and redesigned in response to the limits societies faced at different moments in time. To understand how money shapes the world today, we first need to understand how it came to be. This episode is part of TNBC Explainers Module 3, Economy, Money, and Financial Power. Explore the TNBC Explainers course via the YouTube course list, or visit thenextbigcycle.world for the full course overview and background. This is The Next Big Cycle, TNBC Explainers, your guide to understanding the systems shaping the world around you. TNBC Explainers is a growing YouTube course. New concepts are added over time,